They say family is supposed to make you feel safe, loved, even. But standing there that morning, suitcase in hand and two kids clutching my sides, all I felt was humiliation burning down my throat. "Why did you come with your maggots?" My sister, Clara, spat the words like venom. Her voice sliced through the laughter and chatter that filled our family farmhouse courtyard. For a second, the air froze. The music stopped. Even the birds seemed to go quiet. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. My parents, yes, the same parents who raised me, stood right beside her, eyes shifting, lips pressed together. They didn't say a word. "This isn't your place, Amelia," Clara continued, tilting her chin, her perfectly polished nails wrapped around a wine glass. "You weren't even invited." Her kids, two spoiled little brats she treated like royalty, snickered behind her. And my own kids, my sweet Eli and Hannah, looked up at me with confusion, fear, and the kind of hurt no child should ever feel from their own family. I swallowed hard, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "We came because Mom said the family was gathering for the weekend," I said calmly. "It's been months since the kids saw their grandparents." Clara's smirk widened. "Well, plans change. You should have asked me first." That was her. The self-appointed queen of the family. Married to some businessman, dripping in luxury, and convinced she ran everyone's life, including mine. But here's what she didn't know. That moment, when she tried to embarrass me in front of everyone, was the exact moment I decided she was going to regret ever opening her mouth. I didn't scream back. I didn't storm off. I just looked at her, really looked at her, and smiled. Because deep down, I already knew how to ruin her peace in minutes. It wasn't always like this. When we were kids, Clara was the golden child. I was the one who got blamed when she broke things, when she lied, when she cried. I learned early on that my parents didn't see me. They saw her reflection through me. After Dad retired, they moved to this farmhouse outside Nashville. It was supposed to be a family retreat. But ever since Clara started visiting every weekend, it turned into her private kingdom. She redecorated the place, filled it with her photos, even told Mom which rooms belonged to her kids. And me? I barely visited after my divorce. Raising two kids alone wasn't easy. I worked full-time, juggled bills, and did everything to give Eli and Hannah a good life. So when Mom called last week and said, "Come spend the weekend with us, honey," I packed up the kids and drove 4 hours with excitement. But clearly, that invitation didn't go through Clara first. As I stood there, Clara's husband came out from the porch. "Is there a problem?" he asked, glancing between us. "No problem," Clara said sweetly, flashing him her fake smile. Amelia was just leaving. My jaw clenched. "We just got here." Mom finally spoke, barely above a whisper. "Maybe next time, sweetheart. It's a bit crowded today." Crowded. That was the word she used, like my kids were extra luggage. My hands trembled, but I didn't let them see it. "Got it," I said quietly. "Come on, kids." Hannah tugged my sleeve. "Mommy, why don't they like us?" I forced a laugh. "They just don't know us well enough yet, baby." We walked back to the car, my heart breaking with every step. I could feel their eyes on my back, Clara's triumphant smirk, Mom's silence, Dad's avoidance. When I shut the car door, Eli asked softly, "Are we going home?" I looked at him through the rearview mirror and smiled, a different kind of smile this time. "No, sweetheart," I said. "We're staying." Because this time, I wasn't walking away. I'd spent years swallowing my pride, letting Clara win every argument, letting her make me the outcast. But she made one mistake today. She insulted my children. You don't do that and walk away smiling. I parked the car under the oak tree, far enough that they wouldn't see us. Then I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my messages, and opened a folder I'd been saving for months. Screenshots, emails, bank statements, things Clara would never want anyone to see. A little smile tugged at my lips. "You wanted peace and privacy, Clara?" I whispered. "Let's see how long that lasts." And that was how it started, my quiet, deliberate revenge. Not with yelling, not with tears, but with a plan that would turn her perfect family weekend into a nightmare she'd never forget. I sat in my car, engine off, watching the farmhouse from a distance. The sun was sliding down the sky, painting everything gold. From where I sat, I could hear faint laughter, Clara's laughter, the same grating sound that used to echo through my childhood when she got her way. My kids were in the back seat, munching on the snacks I'd packed. I forced myself to smile at them, keeping my voice steady. "Let's take a little walk before dinner, okay?" They nodded eagerly. To them, this was just another trip. They didn't know the fire burning inside me. I had a plan, not something impulsive or cruel, but something smart, precise. Clara thought I was weak, the poor divorced sister who'd never made anything of her life. She didn't know I worked as a digital analyst for a marketing firm, or that I'd helped their business once. Clara's husband, Jeff, had asked me a year ago to help set up their company's online ad systems. I did. I also saw their financial records, and I'd kept copies. At the time, I didn't mean to use them. But life's funny. It hands you your weapon long before the battle begins. I scrolled through my saved files again. Tax evasion receipts, duplicate payments, a hidden account under Clara's name. She and Jeff were funneling money into a personal luxury fund, while their employees thought the business was struggling. But this wasn't about money. This was about respect. She humiliated me in front of my kids, treated us like trash. Tonight, I'd remind her who she was dealing with. We took a slow walk around the back of the farmhouse. The place was massive, wide porch, big barn, a pool that sparkled in the fading sunlight. I could see the family through the windows, gathered around the long wooden table. My parents sat quietly while Clara laughed too loud, gesturing dramatically as she told some story. Probably about me. I took a deep breath. "Stay right here, okay?" I told my kids. "Mommy just needs to make a call." I stepped behind the barn, where it was quiet, and dialed a number. "Hey, Dylan? It's Amelia." Dylan was my old college friend, and conveniently, a journalist for a local business magazine. He owed me a favor. After a brief chat, I texted him a few files and said, "You'll want to look at these. Might make a good story." He chuckled. "You always had a way of finding gold, Amelia." "Just do me a favor," I said. "Make sure it hits the press by tomorrow morning." When I hung up, I felt lighter. But that wasn't all. I wanted Clara to feel it, not later, not next week, but tonight. Dinner was being served when I walked back up the porch. I didn't knock this time. I pushed the door open and stepped in. Everyone turned. The clinking of glasses stopped. Clara's eyes narrowed. "You again? Didn't I tell you?" I raised my hand calmly. "Relax, Clara. I just came to drop something off." I placed a small envelope on the dining table. My kid stood quietly by the door. "What's this?" she snapped. "Something you might want to see before you keep running your mouth." Jeff frowned, grabbing the envelope. He slid out a few printed screenshots. His face went pale. "Where did you get this?" he muttered. Clara grabbed the papers and scanned them, her color draining fast. I smiled faintly. "You really should have deleted your emails, Clara. Or maybe don't register your fake account under your maiden name. Rookie mistake." Mom gasped softly. "Amelia, what's going on?" I met her eyes. "You wanna know why your perfect daughter's been hiding money from the IRS?" Jeff stood up suddenly. "You can't just walk in here and—" "Actually, I cut in. I can. Because I'm part of the same family you just disrespected. And you don't get to humiliate me and my kids, then sit down to dinner like nothing happened." The silence that followed was delicious. You could almost hear Clara's heartbeat. She slammed the papers down. "You think you can threaten me?" I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Not threatening. Just returning the favor. You embarrass me in front of my children. Now, I'm embarrassing you in front of yours." Her lip trembled. "You wouldn't dare." "I already did." The words hit her like a slap. I could see her mind racing, wondering how far it had gone, whether the world already knew. "Check your phone," I said. Jeff's phone buzzed first. A news alert. Then Clara's. She snatched it off the table, her hands shaking. The headline glared at her. Local business couple under investigation for financial misconduct. Her face went white. Dinner looks great, I said with a smile. Enjoy your weekend. Then I turned, holding my kids' hands, and walked out of that house without looking back. Outside, under the quiet night sky, Eli whispered, "Mommy, are we leaving now?" "Not yet, sweetheart," I said softly. "We'll stay nearby for a bit." I watched through the window as Clara and Jeff argued, their voices muffled but frantic. My parents sat frozen, shocked into silence. For the first time in years, I felt peace, not because I'd hurt them, but because they finally knew I wasn't weak anymore. They'd crossed a line, and I'd drawn one they could never step over again. But my revenge wasn't finished yet. This was just the beginning. By morning, chaos had officially arrived at the farmhouse. I woke up early, not in the house, of course not, but in a small inn just a few miles away. My kids were still asleep, tucked under a blanket. The light streaming through the curtains felt warmer than usual. For once, I didn't feel small or forgotten. I opened my phone. 23 missed calls. 12 messages. All from Clara. I scrolled through them. "How could you do this to me? You've ruined everything. Do you have any idea what this means for my family?" Oh, I knew exactly what it meant. The article had gone viral overnight. It was all over local feeds. Successful couple under fire for fraudulent transfers. Community power couple's empire cracks. Dylan's story spread faster than wildfire. Clara and Jeff's faces were plastered everywhere, not as the power couple they liked to call themselves, but as examples of greed and deceit. It was poetic. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mom. I hesitated before answering. "Amelia," her voice trembled. "What have you done?" I sighed. "I just told the truth. You embarrassed your sister in front of the whole world." "She embarrassed me in front of my kids," I said sharply. "I guess we're even." There was silence. Then Mom whispered, "We raised you better than this." I laughed softly.
"No, Mom.
You raised me to stay quiet." Clara raised herself to be a bully. I just finally stopped letting her win. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were steady, my heart strangely calm. By noon, the farmhouse had turned into a scene straight out of a reality show meltdown. Neighbors stopped by, pretending to check in. Reporters had already been snooping around. I drove by once, just to see the spectacle. Clara stood outside in her robe, arguing with someone on the phone, waving papers in the air. Jeff was pacing on the porch, his face red with frustration. For years, they'd lived off the illusion of perfection. The house, the parties, the "we're better than you" smiles. Now it was crumbling. And the best part? I didn't even have to lift another finger. But as I watched from the car, a small ache tugged at my chest. I wasn't heartless. Clara was still my sister, and watching her fall that hard was painful, even if she deserved it. Still, she'd asked for it. That night, after I tucked my kids into bed, I sat by the window with a cup of coffee. My phone rang again, but this time, it wasn't Clara or Mom. It was Jeff. "Amelia," he said, his voice low and tense. "We need to talk." I leaned back. "I don't think there's much to talk about, Jeff." "You don't understand," he said quickly. "This investigation, it's bigger than you think. If they trace where those documents came from..." "They came from you," I interrupted. "Your emails, your files. You gave me access when you hired me. You think I stole them?" He hesitated.
"No."
"But if it looks like insider exposure..." "That's not my problem," I said coldly. He exhaled heavily. "Clara's a mess. She hasn't stopped crying. She wants to apologize." "Apologize?" I repeated. "Now that she's cornered?" He didn't answer. "Tell her not to waste her breath," I said and hung up. But when I put my phone down, something in me twisted. I didn't expect her to apologize, not really. Clara wasn't the type to feel remorse. Not unless she was forced to. 2 days passed before she showed up. It was early evening. The inn parking lot was quiet when a silver SUV pulled in. Clara stepped out, wearing sunglasses, her hair tied up, her usual arrogance replaced by something I hadn't seen before: fear. I didn't move. I just stood there, watching her walk toward me. Amelia, she said softly. Can we talk? I crossed my arms. Talk or yell? She flinched.
Please.
I deserve that. But I need you to understand. I understand perfectly. I cut her off. You humiliated me, Clara. You treated my kids like they were trash. You stood there while Mom told me to leave my own parents' property. And now that your little empire is burning, you suddenly remember I exist. Tears welled up in her eyes. You don't get it. Jeff's furious. He's blaming me for everything. The business could collapse. The IRS. That's not my fault, I said coldly. She took a step closer. I'm not asking you to fix it. I'm asking for mercy. Please. My kids, they don't deserve this. For a brief second, I saw the scared sister behind the arrogance. But then I remembered Hannah's face that day, her eyes filling with tears when Clara called her a maggot. Neither did mine, I said quietly. Clara's lip quivered. You won't forgive me? I shook my head slowly. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. You taught me that. Her shoulders slumped. She turned to leave, but stopped halfway. You think you won, Amelia, she said bitterly. But revenge doesn't heal you. It makes you hollow. I smiled faintly. Then it's a good thing I stopped trying to heal. She walked away and I didn't stop her. Because she was right about one thing. Revenge doesn't heal you. But it does remind people like her that you're not invisible anymore. And sometimes that's enough. The next few weeks were a storm, not for me, but for Clara and Jeff. News outlets dug deeper. The investigation wasn't just local anymore. It had reached national business networks. Their clients backed out. Sponsors withdrew. Jeff's face was suddenly on every article about fraud and unethical accounting. Their house, the same farmhouse where I was told I didn't belong, became a fortress of shame. Neighbors whispered every time they saw her at the grocery store. Her so-called friends stopped answering her calls. And me? I went on with my life. Every morning I'd drop Eli and Hannah at school, go to work, come home, cook dinner. Peaceful. Quiet. But beneath that peace was something heavier, a strange emptiness that I couldn't explain. At first I thought it was guilt. But it wasn't. It was the silence after victory, the moment when the noise fades and you're left wondering what it really cost. Then one afternoon I got a call from my dad. Amelia, your sister's not doing well. I didn't answer. He continued. Jeff left her, took the kids, and went to his brother's place in Atlanta. She's alone. Maybe now she knows how I felt, I said flatly. Sweetheart, don't say that. Dad, I said, trying to stay calm. She humiliated me. In front of you. In front of Mom. You both let her. He sighed heavily. We didn't know what to do. That's the problem, I snapped. You never did. There was a long pause. Your mother hasn't slept in days. She says the family's falling apart. Maybe it needed to, I said quietly. And with that I hung up. But later that night, I couldn't stop thinking about what he said. I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee, scrolling through my phone. The comments under the news article had turned vicious, people tearing Clara apart, calling her names, mocking her family. It wasn't satisfying anymore. It was sad. I remembered her standing in the backyard when we were kids, both of us covered in mud after a summer rain. We'd laughed so hard our stomachs hurt. That girl, that version of Clara, didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never did. Still, something in me softened. Not forgiveness, not sympathy, just a quiet ache that maybe somewhere along the line, we both lost ourselves trying to be seen. A week later, I went back to the farmhouse. It looked smaller now. The garden was dying, the paint was peeling. I could hear faint sobs from inside before I even knocked. Clara opened the door. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen from crying. What do you want? She asked hoarsely. I hesitated. To talk. She let out a hollow laugh. Talk. You destroyed my life, Amelia. What could you possibly want to say? I didn't destroy it, I said calmly. You did. I just stopped hiding it for you. She turned away, her hands trembling. You have no idea what it's like to watch everything crumble, to have everyone look at you like you're trash. My throat tightened. Actually, I do. You made sure of that. For a moment, we both just stood there, breathing the same heavy air. Finally, she whispered, Mom and Dad don't talk to me anymore. Jeff's filing for divorce. I can't go anywhere without people staring. I can't sleep. Her voice cracked. Are you happy now? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to say this was what she deserved. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I said, no. I'm not happy, but I am free. She blinked, confused. I lived my whole life trying to please everyone, to earn love that was never meant for me. You had everything, Clara. And you still needed to make me feel small. So no, I'm not happy that you're hurting. But I am done being your victim. Her shoulders sagged, the fight in her gone. I was jealous, she whispered suddenly. You were strong. Even when your marriage fell apart, you kept going. You didn't need anyone.
And
I hated that. That admission hit harder than I expected. Clara, I started, but she shook her head.
No.
Don't pity me now. I earned this. All of it. She stepped back and closed the door quietly. I stood there for a long time, staring at the worn wood, the echo of her words lingering in my mind. Maybe this was what real revenge looked like, not the triumph, not the satisfaction, but the aftermath. The hollow space where hate finally runs out of breath. I turned and walked away, my footsteps crunching over the gravel. The air smelled like rain, heavy and clean, like the world was trying to wash everything away. For the first time in years, I didn't feel angry. Just done. 2 months passed. By the time the first snow touched the fields around the farmhouse, most of the chaos had settled. The investigation wrapped up. Jeff took a deal to avoid heavier charges, but his company's reputation was finished. Clara filed for bankruptcy and moved into a small apartment near downtown. And me? I hadn't seen her since that day. Life went on. My kids were thriving again. I'd started freelancing more, earning better money than before. We even took a short vacation, just the 3 of us. And for the first time in years, I felt peace that wasn't built on revenge, but on freedom. Still, every now and then, I'd catch myself replaying that day. Her words, her face, the way my parents stood silent, as if I didn't belong. Those wounds don't vanish. They just stop bleeding. One evening, while I was cooking dinner, I got a text from an unknown number. Mom's in the hospital. It's bad. Come if you can. It was from Clara. For a few minutes, I just stood there, phone in hand, the smell of garlic filling the kitchen. Then I turned off the stove, grabbed my coat, and told my kids we were visiting Grandma. When I reached the hospital, Clara was sitting outside the ICU, pale and thinner than I'd ever seen her. She looked up, surprised I came. She had a heart attack, she said quietly. Dad's inside with her. I nodded, sitting down next to her. For a while, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't hostile anymore, just heavy with everything we'd both said and done. Finally, she whispered, I didn't think you'd come. She's still my mother, I said softly. And you're still my sister. Clara's eyes glistened. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to fix things, not just with Jeff or the business. With me.
I glänste her.
That's good. She hesitated. I know I can't undo what I said that day. I hurt you. I hurt your kids. I was cruel. I thought making you small would make me feel big. Her voice cracked.
I'm sorry, Amelia.
I really am. For a long moment, I didn't say anything. Apologies are strange. They don't erase the past, but they do open a door. And I realized maybe I didn't want that door closed forever. I don't hate you, Clara, I said finally. I just stopped needing your approval. She nodded slowly, tears rolling down her cheeks. I deserved what happened. Every bit of it. Maybe, I said gently. But what matters is what you do next. She looked up, surprised. You can spend your life blaming everyone, or you can build something new. I know how hard that is. I've done it. A faint, broken smile crossed her face. You always were stronger than me. I shook my head.
No.
just more tired of being stepped on. We both laughed, soft, sad, but real. Mom recovered after a few weeks. I visited often. She and Dad were quieter around me now, almost careful, as if afraid I might disappear again. I didn't hold grudges. But I didn't forget, either. One afternoon, while helping Mom pack up some old boxes, I found an old photo album. Inside was a picture of Clara and me as kids, standing by the lake, covered in mud, both laughing so hard our eyes were shut. Mom smiled faintly. You two were inseparable once. Yeah, I murmured. Once. She hesitated, then said, I know we failed you, Amelia. You always tried to keep peace, even when we didn't deserve it. I looked at her, and for the first time, I saw the guilt in her eyes, the kind that comes too late, but still matters. You can't change the past, Mom, I said gently. But you can be different now. She squeezed my hand, tears welling up. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. Those words, ones I'd waited my whole life to hear, hit me harder than I expected. Months later, spring came. The farmhouse sold. Clara started a small bookkeeping business, nothing fancy, but honest work. We spoke occasionally, cautiously rebuilding something fragile but real. One Saturday morning, as I watched Eli and Hannah playing in the park, Hannah turned to me and asked, Mommy, do we have to forgive Aunt Clara? I smiled. Forgiveness isn't something we have to do, baby. It's something we give when we're ready. Are you ready? She asked. I looked at her soft brown eyes, so full of innocence, and felt a calm I hadn't known in years. Yeah, I said quietly. I think I am. She ran back to the swings, laughing with her brother, and I sat there watching them. My peace, my reason, my redemption. Revenge had given me power, but forgiveness gave me peace. And I finally understood something that took me years to learn. You don't win by making them hurt. You win when their words stop defining who you are. And as the sunlight touched my face, I whispered to myself, they called us maggots that day, but look at us now, flying higher than they'll ever reach.